Hi, I'm Josh, your English learning guide, and this is English Hacks. Today we have our very first idiom of the week. For those of you who don't know, an idiom is a set phrase or a group of words that has a particular meaning that each of the individual words by themselves don't mean. So each of the three words in this idiom have their own meaning, but when you combine them, they create a special meaning. That is an idiom. Today, our idiom is rule of thumb. As we talked about in the introduction to this playlist, we will be looking at not just the meaning of the idiom, but also different angles that can help us to more deeply learn and understand these phrases. Now, of course, your thumb is this. We have our fingers and we have our thumb. Let's take a look at what this actually means. So a rule of thumb is basically a general guideline or a principle that doesn't apply in every single case. So there will be probably exceptions, such as with English spelling. But the rule of thumb is the general guideline. So if you're not sure about something, then that will probably apply, but it might not. So for example, if I tell you that in English, the spelling E-E or E-A usually is pronounced E, that is a rule of thumb. Because sometimes we have other ways to spell the E sound, because English writing is not phonetic, meaning the written words do not always match the spoken sounds. So, for example, B or we, these are just spelled with one letter E, but they are pronounced E. Or we might have EA, such as in head, which this is the sound E, not E. So it's spelled EA, but it's not pronounced E. Or we have great, which is also spelled EA, but it's pronounced A, which is a diphthong, two vowel sounds combined into one. So this is also not pronounced E. But those are the exceptions. Head, great, where we spell EA, but it's not pronounced E. Or B and we, where it's pronounced E, but it's not spelled EE or EA. So the rule of thumb is that if you see this spelling, it will be pronounced E. But that's a rule of thumb, a general guideline. There are exceptions. Over here, I drew, this is supposed to be one of those big wigs, the powdered wigs that they used to wear in the 1700s, 1800s. And this is a thumb. There's the thumbnail. And he's very angry. He's an angry ruler, right? He's ruling, a rule of thumb. Okay. And that brings us to our next point. Let's take a quick look at the etymology. Now, according to the website Etymology Online, rule as a noun means a principle or maxim governing conduct, formula to which conduct must be conformed, which is a very fancy way of saying it is something that you have to follow, basically, like think of a law. Now this originally comes from the Latin regula, which I'm not going to try to pronounce in a Latin way, which means straight stick, bar, or ruler. Figuratively, meaning not literally, this Latin regula means a pattern or a model, which is related to regere, which means to rule, like a king rules the kingdom. He is the ruler. To straighten or to guide. So we have some key words here. We have a pattern, which we saw the E-E-E-A spelling pattern is usually pronounced as E. And we see the word guide. So a general guideline, something that has exceptions. As a verb, to rule means to control, to guide, or to direct. Now, related to this, we can see is the phrase to be under someone's thumb. So we have to know what this means first before we can move forward. So this means to be totally under that person's control, under someone's control. So we see here a rule of thumb. We see to be under someone's thumb. So imagine if I control you, right? I can hold you down with my thumb. This is you, this is my thumb. I can control what you do. Not literally, of course, but that's the idea. So this is about controlling someone. This is about a general guideline. So the meaning of these two is quite different, but we can see that they're actually related. They are related. And that gives us a deeper understanding of this main idiom, rule of thumb. It's important not to confuse these two. I know that might be a little difficult with all the stuff we're talking about here. This is part of sort of the underground connection in the subconscious mind of a native speaker that is connected with this. So they sort of are attached in some meaningful way subconsciously, even though they don't actually have the same meaning on the surface. I talk a lot about this in my videos about the logic of English prepositions, as well as my book, The Logic of English Prepositions, because this is actually a very important idea, and idioms share a lot of the same hidden connections between each other. So what I want you to do, you're going to focus mostly on this, and you're going to attach a keyword, which is guide. Guide. So a rule of thumb is a guide. It is a general rule or a general thing that will usually apply. Okay, so this phrase equals guide. So don't think of rule as in controlling, although in a sense it does control in the sense that it guides, but it's not a forceful direct control. Think of this, right, under the thumb. The thumb is pushing down. There's force, control, okay? So this is related to the keyword control, okay? So to be under someone's thumb equals control. Rule of thumb equals guide, not force. It's just a general rule, a general idea that will usually apply. So that's how you can keep these separate. Apply a particular keyword to each of them. And that'll do it for this Idiom of the Week video. Any questions or comments, please leave them down below. Let me know if having this related phrase was at all confusing to you, or if maybe the keywords helped to sort of separate the two ideas so that you won't get them confused. Thank you guys very, very much for watching another English Hacks video. There's always a lot more content coming like this, as well as other types of content. So make sure you don't go anywhere. Stick around for that, and I'll see you guys in the next one.